Blog Talk Radio.
Once you have the collapse of the mythical or the mythless condition and the loss of the sense that the world is sacred moment to moment, you have the possibility of exploiting everything and everyone without the instinct for the dignity of things, the dignity of animals, and the dignity of people. And you have the condition I think we're in now where nothing is sacred.
Oculus Radio is a platform for all souls to free their minds of the constraints that society has placed upon them. We are here to uplift and to raise each other in consciousness and to celebrate our humanity. We seek to find voices deep within the abyss who have been waiting for that moment in time when they know their words will heal those who seek true fulfillment and balance. Where life experience has become the generator of all their gnosis. We acknowledge the divine feminine and wish to address the imbalance that has been perpetrated throughout the historic record. We seek to rejuvenate an old wisdom which has been eradicated from our divine script. We call to the mystic shaman, poets, artisans, and prophetic vagabonds of our counterculture to come out of seclusion and join with us, to co-create with our divine planet a new pleasure, an amorous journey into the realm of unlimited potential. We will be introducing some odd geniuses that are indeed in the right place at the right time. We are a collection of souls who came together with the passion to elevate our consciousness so we may use this unique time we are in to create something beautiful and fulfilling into the next stage of humanity. This is Oculus Radio.
Oh, hello everybody. Welcome to Oculus Radio on a Friday evening in the US, Saturday here in Australia. We're just trying to bring one of our guests in, so excuse me for that. We'd like to welcome everybody in the chat room, our friends Laurie, Linda. We have some new people in there, which is really fantastic. Thank you very much for your participation on the last show, which was a fantastic show. We've had a good response to that. And I just wanted to give a quick overview about John Lamb Lash's work, which I feel is important, that his information is vital to our understanding about the internal mechanisms of the planet and what we are about to distinguish rather than be unknown to the fact of the mechanism that's going on, or the energies that are coming out of the planet. And I feel that because humans have been disconnected from the planet, and we talked about that in the show, that we need to reconnect with the planet and basically bury ourselves in the soil and realize that we have an obligation in co-creating with the planet our new paradigm, or our new injection into our creating our reality. And I feel that we need to get people like Brian, like John Lamb Lash, on the show, and let him give the knowledge that he's accumulated. And he is a self-taught scholar, and I believe there's a lot of these people who are coming out of the woodwork after 40 or 50, maybe 30 years of discovering their journey and being responsible for it and keeping it alive up until now. I know myself, it's been a hard journey, but it's been a very rewarding one up until now, because and I know a lot of you people in the chat room. Hi, Gregory. How are you? Hope you're well. A lot of people, have been going through a lot of trauma, and are coming out of it and feeling a sense of freedom with coming out of that trauma, and that's what basically we're going to talk about tonight. The terminology, the archons, is a terminology that's only coming into public record or public perception or the collective consciousness since John's actually put it into his books. We've had references to this information, mild references to this information from religious scholars, but not in the definition that John Lash talks about. We know that humanity is vulnerable in being manipulated because of the way society is set up at the moment. We're in a very predatorial society structure, and we have to understand why we have allowed this. There is a chapter in John's book about the victim perpetrator paradigm, and this, I feel, is one of the main manipulations since the event of the Dark Ages, in the death of Hypatia. And I don't know whether a lot of people know about the death of Hypatia, but Hypatia was one of the noble women of the Gnostics in the temple, in the Great Library of Alexandria. And on one faithful day, I think it's 623 BC, around there, about 1600 years ago, she was going outside of the Great Library into her chariot to go home, and a frenzied Christian mob who were manipulated by one of the Christian zealots basically got hold of her and killed her in a way that basically that day was the start of the day of the Dark Ages. And there is no reference to anybody throughout the history books or throughout the information that we have about the actual start of the Dark Ages. We just know that the Dark Ages occurred, and there was a perpetuation of barbaric murder and indoctrination into a faith that if you didn't comply, you would be murdered. So it's an important issue. It's an important story that people need to know. To me, that was the day the patriarchal showed itself in its true domination. And it's something that men today are addressing in their perception of coming out into this fear culture and doing things about rectifying that. And whether we're successful or not, that's just only time will tell. But we all hope we are making some inroads to creating that and redressing that imbalance. It's a very my own personal perception is that unless we as and I'm specifically gender specific right at this present moment, unless we as men address this perpetration that happened with the divine feminine and the feminine and the persecution of women that happened all those years ago, there's such a massive indent in the collective female psyche because of that male domination, that patriarchal. And if we don't address that now and address the balance and redress the balance and bring it back into a balance, then we will not go on to the next stage of humanity. And I feel that it is important that we define the role of men in today's society, in today's culture. It's a topic which we fight for as men, because we are trying to inject ourselves into a very rigid and stoic paradigm of testosterone based aggression, and this is has been followed on and has been in manifest for the last 1600 years, and we are born into it. We are subjects and at the mercy of it. It infiltrates our total psyche within every aspect of how we live our daily lives. It is everywhere. It is everywhere in the oppression of women, in the intimidation of women, in those innuendos that society has created for the oppression of women. And if we don't address this, and if we don't make people aware of it, especially on a psychological, well, I won't say psychological level, but on a spiritual level, then we will keep on perpetuating a myth that we should not own. And we've been talking within our group over the last few days about our true responsibility and the responsibility that we take on of others. Does our decision to take on another person's responsibility, and I'm talking about, our family, our parents, our fathers, our mothers, we take on and perpetuate their behavior and add it into our family. And in doing so, we detract from our experience and give more energy to their experience through us. And I feel that each generation needs to implement mechanisms to stop this. Unless it's productive, unless it's nurturing, unless it's healing, unless it's loving, unless it's giving of oneself of service, I feel that these negative behavioral traits that we learn from our parents and close members of our family, that we do take on as very young children, and we don't know when the cutoff point is to, and it morphs into us, and we take it on and add it to our momentum and our continuum of our lives. And I feel that we need to start sitting quietly and realizing that we should bring these traumas, these perpetuations of misogyny, which is a very important one, out into the open. And a transparent and truthful existence is what's needed at the moment, because these, we were talking about a couple of weeks ago on the origins of fear, why when we have true intent and pure intent, do these other energies come into the fore? And we need to recognize them for what they are, We need to understand whether they are our creation or whether they are a creation that we have taken on. And if so, if we have taken them on, and basically, the family is the structure that we all grow up in, or most of us grow up in. I unfortunately didn't grow up in that. We'll be talking about that in our topic today, which is archontic experiences of extreme trauma. And in doing so, we perpetuate the myths, the energies of our fathers and mothers, and the ones that are dysfunctional. We take responsibility for them when they are really not our creation, and are we allowed by natural law to take responsibility for them? I don't think so. I feel that we need to look at them for what they are and finally let them go. But how do you do this? Society doesn't really give us the mechanisms. There are a lot of people now coming out and creating different understandings or different sort of I'll call them technologies because they are technologies of healing that bring these dysfunctional energies up from the subconscious into the conscious, where they can be dealt with and reprogrammed. But how do you know that they are yours, and how do you know that they are your family's? And this is the understanding, and this is the truth that you have to come to terms with. And where we are going, these dysfunctional energies are not welcome, and we all know that. And we struggle with them every day. We fight with them every day. We try not to perpetuate them with our children, because we need to give our children, a clear and distinct understanding of their own individual journey and destiny, and we need to offer them something which is good, and something which they can call their own, rather than fall prey to the predatorial influences that we did. I mean, this is a really, really important issue of today, as parents, and as and to our siblings and to our friends especially, because our friends notice distinct behaviors, in their objectivism, and can make us aware that these dysfunctional behaviors are apparent. But what is society doing about them? What implementation of these deep traumatic experiences does psychology, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis, all of these institutionalized way of disseminating subconscious information and allowing it to free itself and unattach itself from the soul, spirit, wherever you feel that it does attach itself in your subconscious. The advent of meditation within one's practice of on a daily basis helps. We know that helps. But does it actually go right to the source of where it came from? And I feel in my meditation practices, in my understanding of the connection of meditation, that it doesn't. And I know that's a big call, but the real purpose of this moment in time is And a lot of people are saying it. A lot of people are saying that, if you're waiting for something, if you're sitting down and meditating and waiting for something to happen, it's not going to happen. You have to make it happen. It's very important that you make it happen. And in freeing yourself of these parental psychoses, the only way that you can do it successfully is to become totally transparent and not hide them, because as soon as the moment you take responsibility for them is the moment you will hide them, because it is a perpetuating momentum within your psyche, because your father, your mother, your uncle, your grandfather, your grandmother, they hid them. And they didn't have the opportunity, as we do at this present point in time, because of the awareness and the knowledge that we have accumulated over our lifetimes, to allow them to leave us and not oppress us. And in that, I feel that the baby boomers that are running the planet at the moment had a very dysfunctional life. These psychopathic collective group of people didn't have the chance to allow themselves to be vulnerable, to allow themselves to deal with the dysfunctional issues within their own psyche, because this perpetuation within the bloodline was that you were born into this dysfunction, and you had to basically own it and create that systemic energy to keep it perpetuated. And I feel that this is a guaranteed journey into psychopathy. And we were talking this morning about, how do you identify a psychopath? How do you identify a predator? How do you identify someone who comes into your life and feels that they are genuine, feels that they are truthful, but they basically are setting you up? And this is a very predatorial mechanism, and we know through pedophilia and all these predatorial mindsets that it's not an instantaneous gratification that these people want. These people just want total power over you and dominion over you, that they can inject something into you that will destroy your life forever, because society, they know inadvertently, society does not produce a level of mechanisms within the applied psychoanalysis of creating total freedom for people. They always come back, because I don't feel that on a level of understanding that the systems of the institutionalized way of teaching, especially into its professional component, that these people, have gone through the experience which they are treating. And I feel it is imperative for this moment in time that the new healers of today will replace these institutionalized healers. Because at the moment we know the doctors are now basically giving death warrants to people. They are killing people en masse because of their affliction to the ideology and manipulation, especially with Big Pharma, and the manipulation that goes on there. We know that from day to day because of the information that keeps injecting itself into the collective psyche about how this manipulation goes on, how this total, and this promise that they have to fulfill this depopulation program that's embedded into their system, and that we are not, as human beings, we are expendable, that we are sheep, so to speak, and that we are not worthy of the life that we lead, and to express and to give of ourselves in the way that we feel that we are validated. This is not what this predatorial society gives us. So I'm going to bring in our guests, who are. I'm going to make them. I'm going to make them introduce themselves, because they're wonderful people, ladies and gentlemen, and you will continually to get to know them, and our panel, our core group, we call them, and we are mulling experiences on a momentary basis. So this will be a really exciting show. It'll be a very open and transparent show. And if you feel that you need to call in, please call us. We have a guest call-in line, which is 347-237-4516, or you can come in on Skype if you go on to the to where you listen to the radio show, into Blog Talk Radio, Oculus Radio. So, guys, welcome, guys and girls, welcome.
Hello. Hi, David. Hi, everyone. Lisa here.
Hello. Lisa M. Harrison, Bob Wright. We have Bevan Wright.
Hello. How you doing, everybody?
So today's topic is archontic experiences, and the archontic experiences are the traumatic experiences that perpetuate within the psychosis of the family. And I'm specifically talking about the family today because I feel that most of us are still paying for the sins of our fathers and mothers, and these need to become very transparent in order of us to move ahead, to clear our fear base, because these fears that our parents had were given to us unwillingly, and we specifically know within the psychological realm that it's between the ages of 1 and 7 that we create our major personality to exist on the planet, and that anything that's injected into that child at that age will manifest unless it's made aware of and processed. If it's a negative behavioral pattern, it will continue and grow with the child at the age of 7, which is the first transitional period of the child. The personality, the main personality, basically locks up and holds within that all the experiences, and basically manifests them as each 7-year transitional period goes by. Within tribal culture, we have mechanisms to dispel that fear, but unfortunately, Western civilization has turned tribal information and mythical culture. They've closed the door and are not acknowledging that, and we, as we understand it and bring that back into public record, we come into the benefits of that in understanding exactly how the implementation of dispelling fear and these negative energies within our deep within our psyche, within our subconscious, come into being. So, Lisa, what do you think of that?
Well, just before we went on air, I said that I don't think women are very good, essentially, at recognizing a psychopath in their life, because one of their prominent personality traits is that they are very, very charming. And I think I just realized why. For myself, it was a bit of an epiphany. It might be obvious to everybody else, but and I don't think I'm being sexist by saying so, that the psychopathic personality is predominantly a male issue. I think that's been scientifically shown to be true. There are more male psychopaths than females. And I think those of us who perhaps grew up with a psychopathic father, because of the way we as children look at our parents, but in particular the way little girls look towards their fathers, they are our heroes. And if your hero was also a psychopath, then you're looking for those traits in men. And it sets us up for potentially a lifetime of dealing with psychopathic men when they come in with their charm and their empty love and promises. It feels normal. That's what a man looks like. That's what a man feels like. That's how a man behaves. And it takes until you can recognize that your father perhaps was a psychopath. Then you can recognize the men in your life that you're attracting that are also psychopaths. Does that make sense?
It does, because the father is the first person that the young female child falls in love with. This is your first love.
Exactly. And if you're unlucky enough to have a psychopath as one, then you got some work to do.
Exactly. And also, what happens with the young boys who fall in love with well, I won't say a psychopathic mother, because I'm not going to go there. I believe psychopathy exists mainly within the male mind, and that's a big call. And we'll get to in why I say that very shortly. Bob, Bevan, what's your take on this?
Oh boy. I think that recognizing psychopaths is an intuitive thing, because when you're looking at people on an intellectual level and you're observing them, if you're not connecting with your feelings, and everybody gets these feelings, around people, and usually these people, like Lisa said, are extremely charming. They can be very, very charismatic, and they almost seem too good to be true. And you get that feeling, almost intuitively, instinctively, you get that feeling that something is right here. You may not be able to point any particular incident or situation, but it's just this internal feeling that you get that this person is not what they seem to be. And I think it's very important for people to understand those feelings, that they're not. What Brian said, I thought was a great thing when he was talking about your emotions are another sense. This is like they count the natives counted 6 senses. That your emotions were a sense. You had them for a reason. So you get these feelings for a reason, and I think it's important for people to start to pay attention to those feelings. Because anybody on this panel will tell you they've had those feelings where they've listened to them, and they've had those feelings where they didn't, and when they didn't, it never came out right. When you discount and a lot of times we allow other people to, dissuade us from what we're internally feeling. And I think it's important to validate those feelings because they're there for a reason.
And that's I'm gonna piggyback off of that, Bob. Your emotions will not lie to you. They won't deceive you. They won't manipulate you. They're what I call instinctive truths that surface from within us. And those instinctive truths or those emotions are the true vibe that we need to watch. I see that we have a caller here. So I'll let the caller come in and see what they have to say.
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, hi,
my
caller. How are you?
Larry.
Hey, Larry. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. My parents, I think, they were never diagnosed, but I think they were psychopaths. And they would, my father, a lot of times when I was growing up young, he'd lock me in the closet and they'd blow, cigarette smoke in my face and, a lot of abuse. But then he'd talk to the neighbors like, he was just like an average guy. Like he portrayed himself to the community and, everybody else, and his professionalism was great. But at home, it was just like he was another person. And just want to say, through years of counseling, I finally got out of my shell. I got picked on in high school. I went to college and, I kept to myself, and it took years. It took almost 30 years for me to get over this, but I'm glad you guys are talking about this because, they're hard to recognize, I believe. Don't you guys? Like psychopaths?
Extremely hard to recognize, my friend. It's because we have a system that almost mimics the fear culture that we at Oculus call it. The fear culture mimics psychopathy. So basically, what's happening within the fear culture, within the systemic behavioral patterns of society, that we see people who are in power, who obviously are psychopaths, our parents take on the behavior. And now I just wanted to ask you, because I'm in the same boat as you. I had a father who was a psychopath, and he was also a pedophile. And but I'll get into my story a bit after this, because I want to focus on your story.
My father wasn't a pedophile, but
yeah,
he was just abusive and things like that.
I
come home with a report card, and it wasn't good enough, and I would get beat and ridiculed and spit on, and things I don't like to bring up. But and then we go to church, and everybody thought he was Jesus Pie.
Yeah,
he was like Ward Cleaver from the Leave It to Beaver show.
Yeah,
and,
I hear you, man.
And I try to tell people, and back in the 80s, nobody would listen. Not like today, where we have the internet and ways to communicate with one another and vent our feelings. Facebook and Skype and blogs. But I had nobody back then. And my mother, she drank so much and did barbiturates, and she just covered for him all the time when I would tell outside the family, and no one wanted to hear it. And it sickens me how no one listens to people sometimes.
Did you have brothers and sisters, Larry?
No, I was the only child,
so
and it was like I was never.
Oh, wow.
I was never good enough for my father. And,
Larry, your story sounds very similar to mine, because I was raised in a family that was also a church-going family. They were all Jehovah's Witnesses, and my father was one of those people who was a control freak, and he loved to have power over people and to let you know that he had power over you.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When you're a child, I grew up in a home with a man who thought that whipping his child with a horse whip or with an electrical cord was normal. Some of the things that he would invent in his mind for punishment were nothing more than sadistic. You know, I remember
very sadistic. There was a time when I was standing in the corner. My father would strip me down with nothing on, my arms spread out level wide, horizontally away from my body, with books in my hand, and then he would take an extension cord that you would normally plug into a wall, fold it in half, and whip me in the back with it.
Oh.
Okay? And he used to do this in front of the rest of the family. So the whole family would watch. Well, we were, at the time, when this started with me, was when I was at the age of 5. And my brothers weren't old enough to fend off my father. And this was mostly done without my mother being present, because my mother was always out working. And when my father would sit at the house, he would watch over his us children, and we literally, every time he came in the house, we would find cupboards to go hide into, underneath beds, around any type of crevice or place of hiding, just to stay out of his presence. And we would stay there until Mom would come home. And it cascaded. It cascaded down even further as we started getting older, because he knew we were coming into age. There was a time here, when I was a child, I had a stomach bug. I was violently sick. And my father forced me to eat the food that was prepared for me, and I vomited in my plate. Okay?
Oh, God.
And he forced me to drink my vomit out of my plate because he wanted my whole entire plate cleaned. So those are the things that I learned very early on what a psychopath was. And I knew the difference because my mother was the complete opposite of my father.
And when my father would come home, he worked swing shifts. And it's hard. If I made any noises or woke him up, he would come back down with we called the Caddy Nine Tail. Was almost like a slave whip, and he whip me up and down until I was bleeding and had a lot of bruises and things. And my mother would just be there, just drinking gin and tonics.
Wow.
And I just wanted to just bring up just how these people can do things, and then when they're in the outside world, like regular people, and then they come home or in their own environment, they're psychos, they're psychopaths.
One thing you should take to heart. One thing you should take to heart, that I learned this early on because I did grow up with brothers and sisters who were going through the same thing I was going through. So I did have a slight advantage because we consoled each other. When one would go through a violent beating or a violent episode with our father, we would all gather around that person and try to heal them and comforting them. Okay, but one thing we did recognize early on was that what my father was acting out was a mirror of what he is. He was trying to place on us what he could not achieve out of his own frustration.
Or what was placed on him.
Yeah, and it was his frustration that it wasn't happening to us. He was becoming more and more frustrated and more angry and more violent because we were displaying more and more love amongst each other. Okay? So the comments you were making, like you're not good enough, he's actually saying to himself, I was never good enough.
I graduated from college. He didn't even acknowledge it. It's like I was nothing. And I make more money than him. And
Larry,
he doesn't care.
Something?
But he wants to see my children. And I don't know if I want him in my life.
Larry,
he's seen him a few times. He's seen him a few times, and he's good with them. But I don't let him alone out of their sight. But just want to thank you guys. I've been listening for a few weeks. A friend told me about the site, and just keep talking. And this is a good subject. It helped me.
Larry, I have a question for you.
Yes.
You mentioned you've got children. What's your relationship like with children?
I think I'm a good
How
father.
are you?
Yes.
And you would never do those things that your father perpetrated on you, would you, to your children?
No. I don't even raise my voice.
Now, you see how you answered that question, Larry?
One time I yelled and I grabbed my kid. He did something. He was getting into something. And then I realized, what are you doing? You cannot be him. And I
exactly
never, I try not to yell. I learned. But a lot of times there are psychopaths, and then more psychopaths. It goes down from generation to generation. I don't know if it's a gene thing or it's just some of these people think that's what they're destined to be.
It gets passed on, Larry, until someone like you makes a conscious choice not to continue. And I want to point something out to you, Larry. Because of what you suffered, you would never do that to your children because you've made that conscious choice. And you will love your children in a way that, and on a level that no one else will understand, because you have suffered the denial of that love. So from the experience that you had, you understand, you have been able to literally create a more close-knit family than you possibly ever could have without that experience.
I never realized
because
that.
Now
you just said that. I didn't realize
love at a level that no one else will be able to understand that had not gone through that experience. And I look at that in my own life, my own self. That was a lesson that I had to learn in order to actually be able to forgive my father. Because I can look at that and say, well, at least you taught me what real love is by denying it. By your lack of understanding, I got to appreciate love at a level that I never would have reached had I not gone through that experience. And for that, I can bless the experience. I can bless the experience and then let it go.
And in that essence, your father really taught you the greatest lesson. Now listen to that. He taught you the greatest lesson. Going through what you've gone through taught you what love is not, so that when love is put in place, you're able to hold it and caress it. And that's what you're displaying with your children. Okay? And I'm glad that I've actually got to see that concept, because if I didn't see that concept, I think I still would be in that tumble scenario of being pulled into my father's demonized mind, because he did teach me a great lesson, and that was how I was able to forgive my father.
He's getting old and frail now, and there's still some times when I really want to just beat the shit out of him, and I just don't. I don't do it though, and I don't act on those compulsions. That's the only time I really get angry, when I see him. But he is getting old, and I should take care of him, don't you? Do you think?
Well, Larry, I feel in the process, and everything we know is a process. The process of healing is the first stage of that is forgiveness, and what you have to forgive your father for. You don't have to take the responsibility of what he's done to you.
Yes.
No, but you have to forgive and understand that what he got from his father is what he gave to you, whether it is negative or positive. Now,
my grandfather was a nice guy.
Well,
I don't think he was a psychopath.
So was your father in public.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but well.
And you also
true.
said that your father is great with your kids. Your grandfather would have been you, but may not have been that as a father either.
That's
exactly.
True too. That's true too.
And your father had to have learned it from somewhere. Your father had to have picked up that behavioral pattern from someone, right? And more than likely, it was from his father.
He was just angry.
Yep.
Come home from church, and then the football game would go wrong, or, on a Sunday, and he'd flip out and smash stuff, and supper wasn't good enough, or to me, he almost looked for excuses to vent his rage, But you guys gave me some helpful points. I appreciate it. So, do you need any other questions, or?
Well, Larry, I think we should point out that you are the solution. You came into that family as the solution. You came in and broke the cycle, that horrendous, dysfunctional, barbaric cycle with your children, and whether you are the only one who did that within your family, well, because you're the only child, obviously, you totally broke that cycle from that family. And because you are the new and improved version of your father, because that's who you really are, you come in with the information, and whether you're allowed in that parental structure, in that home structure, to exude those characteristics of who you really are, and to bring them out into this conscious world, and say, I am not going to do that. This is not going to happen with my children. Right, you will just add to the momentum of what your father gave you, and continue on with your kids. And obviously, because you didn't, you were much stronger than that. And even through all of that pain and that suffering, you still were the solution. So no matter what this man did to you, there was no way that you were going to do this to your children. So you've got to give yourself some credibility in what you did. This is a massive thing. I mean, and there was a whole generation.
I just thought it was a logical thing to do. I just never thought about this. But he keeps. My mother died of cirrhosis of the liver, and since then he's been actually calling me.
Yes.
And sometimes there's dead silence on the other line of the phone, and it's almost like a little creepy, and it's almost.
But you know what? I'll tell you what.
In his own way, he's reaching out sometimes.
That's exactly right, mate. The reason why there's dead silence because he's waiting for you. He knows that you are the solution, and he's waiting for you to create the boundaries because you can and he couldn't, and he's waiting for you to ask him to unload those secrets because they're still in him, mate. They're still in his subconscious. They're manifesting, they're coagulating deep down within his fear base, and they're still causing him the pain that they did exactly at the time that they were put in. So you are the solution, and you are the solution on all levels, my friend. You are the solution.
I get it.
Exactly. You are the solution to drag that information out, that secret out of him that he has held on to for all those years, which caused all your pain. And what you did is you bound that fear. You bound his fear, right?
I did.
You took it inside of your psyche, inside of you, right? And you turned it on its head. So you own that now, my friend, right? You are the next level. You are the next generation of the family, and you have to tell him how you did it. Because he has to know that. He has to have a reference point of something greater than he could ever be. And if you just keep on creating that distance from him, right, then he's never going to know. And he's going to die.
He was playing the wiffle bat ball with the kids one day. And I brought up the time when I had a wheelbarrow full of gravel and dirt, and I dropped it into my in-ground swimming pool. And he chased me up the road with the wiffle bat, and he laughed when I told him that. And I just wanted to beat the shit out of him right there, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. And
yeah.
He still has control over me. He does, though. And
why do you think that is?
he's my father, though, and he...
No, that's because you are still taking responsibility for his behavior.
I didn't deserve it.
You haven't precipitated a process into healing that for
Right.
yourself, not for him. It's
Okay.
not for him. This process has nothing to do with him. This
Okay.
process is to free yourself of his stuff, not your stuff. You are recreating your stuff. You are recreating your life in the positive aspects that you know, and what you call logic is far more than logic, my friend. It's a multi-layered, multi-leveled understanding, and when you bring that into being, into your conscious mind from your subconscious, right? You've done an amazing thing, and you have to give yourself some credibility that you did that you stopped. And if you go into your family tree, right, and you look at the people that have passed, that have been aided and abetted for your father's behavior, you've just basically put them all to sleep because you've stopped. You've stopped that level of aggression. You've stopped all the fear. You've stopped that. But now it's not about them. Now it's not about anybody behind you. It's about you and where you walk to now. And you walk with your head high, and you walk to the understanding that you were the solution, that you did what you were here to do, so regardless of all the pain and the suffering that you've accumulated.
So you don't think some of this is in your chromosomes that could happen to my kids?
No.
It's all environmental, is what you're saying?
Mate, you just proved it.
But now I don't have to worry. I have two boys.
You are giving your boys reference point of what a man should be, my friend, and you're doing it very.
But you don't think that there's something inside our chromosomes, our DNA, that is going to make them okay?
No.
If we inherit anything, it's these patterns, it's these psychological patterns.
The only thing it is, it's a two-dimensional thing. It's a psychological pattern, and it can be rectified.
Larry, there's something.
A lot of these behaviors are learned behaviors.
Go on, Bob.
I could not hear that.
Also, you should.
Bob?
He said that these are learned behaviors, and there's something else that you should look at, Larry. Because I understand that feelings are like paper clips. You can't pick up one of them without all the others that are attached to that one coming with them. So you've got to untangle. Until you untangle those, you're always going to pull up all those negative feelings whenever you think of your father. But one of the things that you have to understand, the reason why we're here on this panel is because of our traumatic lives. And sometimes the best way to help yourself is to help someone else. Because
so you're suggesting maybe like a group, like to share it with somebody, like a local support group or something?
Because you understand you're in a unique position now. You do not let these things that you experience become weaknesses for you. They're strengths. This is an unbelievable, everybody on earth gets an education. Whether you get it in a university, whether you get it on the street, whether you get it in your family. You have got yourself a PhD in life, my friend. And you need to use that.
Is your name Bob?
Because
I never realized this. You guys have been, you taught me things just in this little couple minutes that I just didn't realize, because I never went to psychologists, and because I just talked to some friends, that I could trust, I tell, and that's it.
And that's all it takes. And you're in a unique position to be a listening ear for a lot of people who are healing. Because one of the things, I found out as being a metaphysical teacher is you teach that which you need to learn. And you may not realize that is a true statement. You teach that which you need to learn. Because in the teaching, when you're helping someone else, you are also healing yourself. Because now you can identify with those feelings, you can see it. And this is part of the whole reason why we incarnate on the earth, so that we can see ourselves in other people.
Okay.
And thus, by seeing ourselves in other people, that's like looking at the mirror, and then you can make the correction. Do you understand?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I thank you all. I really do. And I'm going to... Anything else?
We thank you.
Hang up and listen. I'm glad I had a friend from work that told me about this site, and I like it. So,
Larry, you can yourself do what you did with your father to do with any other person who has the issues with their father. Of what you have learnt, you can take that into society, because you have learnt it on such a level that you notice the small idiosyncrasies. You notice the space between the words that people tell you, because you are empathic. You feel what's going on, right? And you can pull people out of themselves, because you pulled yourself out of this.
I'm just having a few tears here, because I realized that I never realized what you guys told me was I'm right.
Yes, you are right. You are totally right. You came in.
I didn't do nothing wrong either.
No, you did not do anything wrong, my friend. You just.
I'm gonna. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have a long. I'm gonna call him tomorrow, and
yes,
I'm gonna make him work these things out with me.
Exactly, on your terms, my friend.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You do not.
That's
and
right.
anything that. And I want you to do this for me. Anything that he tells you and talks to you about is you are the mirror, right? Because you are the solution, you have become the mirror. So, and everything that he tells you, he's talking to himself through you, and then act upon that. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Do not take anything he says to you personally, because he'll know how to get inside of you and start messing with you. That's what he does.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you.
All right,
and Larry,
God be with you all.
Feel free to contact any one of us that you feel comfortable talking with.
Yeah.
All of our information will post in the chat room.
Yes.
On our Facebook
I don't know.
and our blog.
I'm not too good with computers, but I'll have my friend at work help me.
Yeah.
So, thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're amazing, my friend. You take care.
Larry, you take care. Thank you for coming in.
And thank you taught us something.
Goodbye.
Larry, everybody on the call is sending you a huge hug, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care. I love you guys. Thank you.
Okay, love you too, Larry.
Well, that was powerful.
Wow. So, yeah, and I think this
that was very, 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 very powerful, I have to say. And a lot of people are going through this, and a lot of people just don't realize that it's a mirror effect that's being created from the parents onto the child.
Exactly.
And once they get that visualization of seeing that, I think it does, just like Larry, he saw it just after talking to us. He saw the reflection.
Exactly.
He understood it right away.
Exactly. We're going to go to a break. If you have any situation that you need to be talked about, and you have Skype or you have a phone, you can call us in at 347-237-4516 here at Oculus Radio. We would be more than happy to talk with you and not discuss. I don't think it's a discussion. It's people who have been through the same, if not more, experiences, and who have learnt by them and who have moved on from them. And this is a very important thing. We all need to bring this stuff out of the subconscious. We all need to bring these secrets out, finally, once and for all, so we can move on and go into this new paradigm, into this new energy, free, right, unattached by others' perpetration on us. And it is really important that that your honesty and your transparency become a prime objective of your life at this present point in time. It is so important. So yeah, give us a call here at Oculus Radio. We're going to go into a music break, and we'll be coming out of the music break, and hopefully we'll get another caller and have a chat with them. Otherwise, we'll just keep on continuing with our stories. So here at Oculus Radio, thanks for joining us. Welcome back to Oculus Radio here at Blog Talk Radio. Today's topic is our quantic experiences at the level of traumatic experience that we have that can happen earlier on in life, in the middle of our lives, and at our lives at the present time. And in recognizing the trauma and what the trauma does to our psyche, we need to understand exactly how we can get in contact with the information that's been stored and programmed into us that will affect us as we keep on going on with our lives. It is important to understand that it can be accessed. It can be accessed in a nurturing environment. It can be reprogrammed. And I'm saying that, and I don't mean to sound so mechanical, but I'm saying that through personal experience. And I just want to bring my personal experience into this so people can understand exactly where I've come from. In the late 50s, my father came from India over to Australia. He was the son of a Irish guard for the Queen, or in India for the what do they call it? For the British occupation of India. My father went to a Catholic college in Meerut in India, just outside New Delhi, where he was preyed upon by groups of priests who sodomized him and basically totally destroyed every part of being that he had, because he was a victim. Now, he had to get that victimization from somewhere, and that somewhere I don't think I will ever find out, because he's been a closed book.
Bevan and Bob want to extend on the last
We have a bit of information that is coming to me from my partner, so with their mic on. Anyway, look, before I get into that, I think Bevan and Bob want to go on with a bit on the last call. So I'll hand it over to you, Bevan and Bob, and we'll finish and wrap that one up and get on to some other stuff.
Yeah, to go further on that with what Larry was going through, Bob and I can really resonate with what he experienced, because we experienced that from as far as we can remember as being a child and growing up in a household that was dominated by a dominating psychopath, fearful, angry type of an individual. And, I can keep going on with different segments of what happened to each of us individually, but I want to bring in a spiritual side to this and how we actually muted that from out of us. It was very difficult for me because I did have children, unlike my brother Bob. And when I started having children, I literally, just like Larry, had to have a very conscious thought in every action I did. And in my first marriage, everything I did with my children, I had to pause. Am I acting like my father? Is this what I don't want to repeat this with my father? And when I felt those negative emotions coming to the fore, I would take my leave immediately. My wife didn't understand half of this until I sat down with her and explained my whole entire history with my family. After hearing that, she got sickened, and she was completely beside herself, looking at me and saying, I don't see that in you. How is it that you're not acting this way? And I told her, I said, it's a very thought process, until I started sharing it more so in my adult life with my brother Bob, my sister, my oldest brother Billy, who's still suffering with that to this day, on how to evolve from this and become that new person of what your father was. And my last conversation I did have with my father was, I am your reflection and what you should have been or what you could have been. And I'll let Bob continue on with that, because he came at my father with an intellectual way and a logical way, and trying to rationalize and reason with my father, which caused him to pause on a lot of aspects. So, Bob, I'll let you take over from here.
Well, in my dealing with my father, I didn't have children in my adult life, But as I started getting older, I made a lot of, I would say, extra familiar connections. I created my family outside of my family. So I spent more time basically at my friend's house, or as much time as I possibly could, and possibly even made myself a nuisance in some cases. But I realized that I needed to have some sort of reference point of what real love was, and I found that, in households outside of my family, which I made very strong connections with. And I remember the one day my father, because I was always, I was one of the kids that did well in school, so I didn't get punished as much as some of my other siblings. And for that reason, we knew what each of us could get away with. And I could remember growing up, if a vase got broken or something got broken in the house, my older brother broke a vase, one of my father had bought for their anniversary for my mom, and he would get beat terribly for it. But because I was a little bit more favored, I would take the blame so that my brother wouldn't, get hurt so much. This is the way, things went on in our family. But my father would come to me because I did, I was very intellectual, and I guess he might have respected that in some sort of way. And he would say, you have so much talent, and you're always putting it, outside of the family. You're always going over, this person's house, or always going to that person's house, and you're never home. And I looked at him, and I looked at him straight in the eye, and I said, that's because they are my family. And I sat down with him, and I explained to him, I said, you've never dealt with your own trauma. You have gone through this, and we hear all these stories about how terrible your life was with our grandfather, and here you're doing the exact same thing to us. And I told him, I says, whether you want to believe it or not, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, you abused us. You are a child abuser. And until you come to terms with that, and I didn't mean to be harsh because it's not in my nature. It was something he needed to hear. And it was a very difficult conversation to have. It was very uncomfortable on both of our parts, but I was not going to, allow it to continue. It was my way of dealing with it. He needed to know what he did. And so I explained it to him in graphic detail, and I took him back, I says, do you remember the time when I was 5 years old and I was in elementary school? Now, we went to an elementary school where in the playground they divided from kindergarten to third grade was on one side of the playground. And there was a line, a physical line that was drawn, and the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders were on the other side of the line. And you were not allowed to mix. You were not allowed to cross that line. Otherwise, you'd get in trouble with the principal. Now, we were playing, it was recess time, and I noticed my father's car driving up alongside of the playground. So I went to the fence, to where my father was sitting in the car, and asked him what he wanted. And he goes, go get your brother. Now, my brother was in 4th grade, and I was only in kindergarten, so he was on the other side of the playground, the area which was forbidden to me. I wasn't able to go. So I went to the edge, to the boundary, to the line, and I started screaming, across the playground for my brother. But with all the children playing, there was no way he was going to hear me. Now this I have to remind you, this is in the 70s, in rural Pennsylvania. We were the only black family in this whole school. So by asking the other kids, could you help me, it was a joke. That was just never going to happen. They would just look at me and laugh. So I went back to the car and I told my father, I can't get him. I can't go over the other side of the line, and he won't hear me. And my father screamed at me. He says, "You go get your brother." So I went back to the line and I screamed at the top of my lungs. He wouldn't hear me. So my father got out of the car, slapped me across the face. I fell to the ground. He literally grabbed me by the scruff of the neck and dragged me all the way across the schoolyard. Now the school, lunch ladies and everything were running around because they didn't know what was happening. They see, some man is dragging a kid across the schoolyard. And they weren't going to confront him because my father is a big man. He's 6'1", 200 plus pounds. So they're just running, and trying to protect the rest of the children. He dragged me across literally, my feet were dragging across the ground, and dragged me to my brother, and then grabbed my brother and dragged us both back to the car. And, started screaming at us and hitting us because we didn't come when he told us to come. And I repainted that whole picture to my father, and I says, "You know what I did for you, Dad, on that day? When everybody asked me who you were, I said that you were a friend of the family because I didn't want to be, it was embarrassing for me to say that you were my father." And he would just look at me and he'd say, "Well, I wish I could change the past." And I says, "What you can't. But you need to know what you've done. And you need to understand that, I understand what's going on with you maybe more than you realize. I understand it's part of what you went through with your father. But if I could do it, then you could." And I said, "I don't think you've ever had this conversation with your father." And I don't know if he ever has or if he did. I've been able to forgive my father and still carry on a relationship with him. We'll never be the Brady Bunch. It's just never going to happen. But I've been able to move on from all of that, and to still have a sense of self-worth, which is very easy to go. It's very easy to lose, when you live in that kind of environment, to still have that sense of self-worth and self-confidence, because once I understood what was happening, and I understood what happened to him, and I knew that I needed to have the strength to do what he didn't do. And this is, and I can't say that it doesn't still affect me. It's going to it'll affect you for the rest of your life, but at least I know that it is not in control. It's not, it's not something that, I've allowed to overtake my life, and rob me from enjoying the life that I have.
Because you made him take responsibility, Bob.
Exactly.
And this is what's really important with people who abuse, is that the more they go on being uncovered, is the more that they will abuse. I mean, this is with pedophilias, pedophiles. If you uncover them, then they will be in total fear. And if you uncover an abuser, they will also be in total fear. And I feel this, and a psychopath, they will also be in total fear. And this is why the psychopaths of today, these men who are running the country, are in total fear, because they are being uncovered. And it's a really good understanding of people think that they're living these very highfalutin lives with tons of money, but they are very afraid. They still have massive amounts of fear, because it is a prerequisite to have a lot of fear to become a psychopath. This is what you have to understand. You don't, a pure state of mind for a human is not the ingredients to become a psychopath. It's being born into a very traumatic experience, which a lot of the Illuminati children are, because they're born into something that they can't get out of. And so they perpetuate the myth of their fathers on a more rigid and more barbaric scale. And they have to take responsibility, even though they are who Larry was, the next generation who is the solution. So this is why there is so much mind control in this Illuminati society, because they have to totally reprogram their next generation to fit into their agenda. They have to break them. So these people have multiple personalities. So they can basically be totally reprogrammed. You have to understand that you can't keep on perpetuating the myth that these people are having good lives. You know, when you're on a planet with 6 billion people and there's 6,000 people who are running the show, and they're all psychopaths, and they've all started from a huge base of fear, they're not having a good life. The money is making their misery a lot more comfortable. There is no doubt about that. But they still are perpetuating an agenda of their forefathers. And as I said, and I need to reiterate this, every generation that comes through is the solution, and if you allow it to be, if you take responsibility. Go on, Bob.
Something I want to note, about our particular experience, which I think even made it worse, because as I mentioned, my parents were very religious, extremely religious, and they were, avid Jehovah's Witnesses. And the thing about it is, it was that, a lot of times in the spirit of that religion, that they would punish us, because my father had, he had adopted this. It was almost, he was bad enough before, he started to, become into that religious mindset. But once he adopted the religious mindset, it just made him all the worse, because it almost gave him license to do what he was doing. When you look in, when they study the Bible, God goes into a city, destroys every man, woman, and child by the sword, let your eye not feel sorry, and just wipes them out because they were there. And, it seems like, they feel justified, because I grew up as a gay male, and to persecute and to ridicule, they feel justified, and I think that's an important thing that I wanted to point out, that there's a spiritual aspect behind all of this as well. These influences don't just come, it's not part of the human psyche, but it is a lot of times indoctrinated into us, this psychopathy. It's not just in the family relationship. We find it in all of our structures, our economic, our social structures, and our religious structures are also infected with this. And ultimately, it is a spiritual problem, because this is something that is, when we talk about archontic, when we talk about archons, we're talking about influences that are outside of the human norm. These are.
We got a caller. We got a caller, Bob. We do have a caller.
Okay. Coming. I'll defer.
Hello.
Hello. Caller.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, great. I don't know what I'm doing here, so you'll have to guide me.
Yes. Okay. What are you doing?
Your name?
Well, I came on this spirituality forum and looked for a room because I'm feeling pretty low today, and
yeah.
I don't quite understand the word archontic, but I recognize and identified with traumatic experience. And, I wanted to come in here and see what it was all about. And, I read that you help people work through them. So that's why I'm here on the phone.
Well, we've defined the archontic experience as an interdimensional manipulation on the human collective consciousness.
By whom?
This is by an interdimensional energy that what we perceive to be as ETs.
Oh, really?
Yes. But we'll get into that as we go along in our conversation. And we will in what you talk about, we will identify and make you familiar with this seeding that happens within our minds. That is not really of our responsibility. It's almost like injecting thought patterns in the mindset of individual human beings, and we actually own them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
We earned them. Not really.
We don't earn them. We own them. We own them.
Oh, we own them. Okay.
We own them as our.
He's Australian. You have to forgive him for that.
That's okay.
Do you want to just tell us your story?
What was your story? And what was your name again?
My name is Denise.
Hi, Denise.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting here thinking, well, okay, how do I relate interdimensional, alien beings with my experience? I just, I can't connect it.
Well,
no, forget that.
Denise, it's what allows people to behave inhumanely.
To behave inhumanely?
Yes, inhumanely, and this psychopathic behavior.
Well, I'm not a psychopath.
No. But a lot of people suffer because of these influences.
Oh, okay.
Because they have people who perpetrate inhumane acts against them. Within the family.
Well, you guys are going to love my stories. You guys are going to love my stories.
Well, let's hear it.
Okay. Well, when I think back through out my life, I've always considered that I had a hard life, that I've always had to face some form of adversity. The type of parents that I had. I mean, I remember being small and my mother telling me, I don't know how the conversation ever came about, how maybe she was trying to tell me I was special, that she tried to abort me twice. And it didn't work. So here I am. And I often look back and it's like, what's so special about me? Because I don't see that in my life. All I see is adversity coming against me continually. I'm 49 years old and I feel so beat down into the ground. It's not funny. My first traumatic experience was a situation where my mother was missing money. She was a waitress and she was missing money. And she was saving this money to purchase a swimming pool for us. And she asked everybody what happened to her money. It got missing, And she asked every one of us children who took it. And we all gave our answers. And, of course, my answer was that I didn't know and it wasn't me. Well, she wasn't happy with this, so she got out a belt. And she took turns beating our asses with this belt severely until somebody told the truth. And every time it was my turn, I begged her to stop, to please believe me. And I didn't do it. That I didn't deserve this pain she was inflicting upon me. And my brother finally confessed. And to this day, I cannot tolerate lies. I just can't tolerate them.
Denise, are you there?
Yeah.
What that experience that you described, and I hope I can help you to look at it in a way so that because you also said that you've always had this adversity in your life.
Yes.
And I want to propose to you an idea. When you were that young, and when you're a child, that young, you look up to your parents for everything. To a child, God is equivalent to mom. Do you understand this?
Yes.
And when you're that young, and especially when you realize that you're telling the truth. And I've had a similar situation, where people, they just wouldn't believe you, and you're being punished for it. What can happen to a child is all of a sudden now you want to shout out your innocence, and your innocence is not being heard. You understand? And when you lose your innocence that young, it is an extremely traumatic experience, because it's still, you're 49 years old and you're still relating to it in that way. But perhaps in your trying to scream out that you're innocent, you have overshot your mark, because rather than just saying that I'm innocent and understanding you are innocent, you've claimed yourself now as a victim. And I am a victim, therefore I am innocent. You understand? I'm the victim, therefore I am innocent. And when you internalize that feeling of being the victim, throughout your life, you end up being victimized, because you're holding on to that victimization, and you're letting go of the innocence. And what you really want is the innocence. And you don't need to have the victimization in order to hold on to the innocence, because holding on to the innocence is just something that you understand that you always were. And until you can, this is something that I had to deal with myself. So I'm not trying to talk to you from a perspective. I understand what you're going through, but you need to understand that you don't need to be the victim anymore. And when you can let go of that, and understand that trauma that you went through, and look at it from a different perspective, that yes, you were innocent and you still are, and you always were, and you don't need to be a victim in order to prove it. Does that make sense to you?
Kind of, but I'm not going to get over this with just one little conversation. I know I'm not. I know that I wish that I could do some inner child work, but I have not ever been able to find somebody to help me out with that.
Well, Denise, this is David from Australia. What you have to understand is humans are replicators. We replicate behavior of other people we see. Between the ages of 1 and 7, we take on those personalities that are more prevalent around us, especially in a nurturing environment like the home. This is where we feel safe. This is where we feel secure, or most of us, or some of us. And this is where we are the sponge. We take in, between 1 and 7, we take in those personalities which are more dominant around us. And this is to every human. Okay, so what I'm saying is, these are the personalities. What the reflection of what your mother was showing you in that one example is the replication of a dominant personality that was shown to her between 1 and 7. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So my mother was reacting to a dominant personality from her
Your mother was playing out a personality that was influential on her, a dominant perspective towards you. She was showing you who influenced her life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Sure, and I can understand that, because my grandmother was very abusive, and I never had any type of a, what did you call that, a nurturing family or childhood? Never. I never had one. Never
well,
had.
it was a. I mean, like, I'm 55. You're 49. We are a generation where dysfunctionalism actually started within the home. We were the generation that the two parent family started. We were a generation that basically had to put up with the generation that came back from war, totally distorted, totally deranged, totally dysfunctional, totally destroyed, and we had to make some sensibility out of that. And regardless of whether, if your parents did not take part or participate in the war was on every human. And we know that now with the society that we live in. And it still is against every human. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that predominant deconstruction of the psyche back then, in the late 50s, early 60s, was of a continuum that was created through that Second World War. And the continuum was, the first thing about mind control is what you have to understand. The first rule of mind control is to shatter the psyche. Now, whether on an individual level or whether on a global level. 9/11 was to shatter. 9/11 was created to shatter the global psyche. And once you deconstruct the global psyche or the individual psyche, you need to reconstruct it. Now, what the fear culture, what this predominant culture, who have the psychopathic culture, they have become the family. They have become the parents, right? They have shown this through the educational system, and they have shown this in the workforce, and they have shown this in the political spectrum. They have taken away civil rights. They have denied every individual of their individual role as a parent, because they basically, what they say goes, and what you perpetuate within your family doesn't really mean anything. So
but
there's
why?
that because that's just the nature of the beast that we're up against. And your parents were in a flux. Your parents were in a momentum of a very destabilized state. And what the behavior that they were brought up with was a deconstructive rather than a reconstructive momentum, because of the deconstruction of the global deconstruction of the psyche to do with that war. And that is why that Second World War was created, because it was a world war. It was a war against the people.
So a question that comes to mind to me is like, well, why is this being done? I mean, to what purpose are we being,
manipulated?
Yes.
It's to take you away from your individual destiny.
Which is?
To take you as further away from it as possible, so there is no way that you can ever return and see your own personal destiny fulfill itself.
Well, why would somebody want to be so hateful as to do that?
Because that's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the energy that's predominant. That's the nature of the fear culture.
So how do we get rid of this beast?
Denise, there's a reason why, all of this is happening, and it's all has to do with energy. It's in order to keep you within a certain range of energy. The energy of fear is something that we're calling these archons feed off of. You understand? They literally.
So an archon
feed off
is
of,
a being.
It can be, yes, an archon can be manifested as a being, but we're talking about. We're not talking about people. They operate through people. People demonstrate the same qualities, right? But we understand, through many texts, throughout history, that there has been an influence that has been with man from the beginning.
And, I was just sitting here thinking about all this stuff today. Like, I just can't believe how it all folded, and it didn't start with us. It started with God, or what the God in the Bible. It did. I was sitting here thinking this today, and it's like, this is all so wrong. And then we have learned by that one experience. God had a falling out with Lucifer, and therefore, tossed him away, so to speak, like to the earth or whatever. And because God wanted to be superior. And why couldn't the two just get along? Somebody had to be in power. Somebody wanted to be power.
You know why God fell out with Lucifer? What's your version of that?
Why?
Why?
Well, in my thinking today, it was just that Lucifer wanted some equality, maybe.
Exactly. And he fell in love with women. He fell in love with the human woman, and therefore he wanted to be down on earth with them.
Well, that doesn't sound to me like he wanted equality, because God didn't want to be down on earth with women, did he?
I don't. That is the $50,000 question. But let's get back to your situation. Okay. All right. So the behavior that your mother was showing you was the behavior that she learned in those predominant years. Okay? And she's replicating that. Right? You are her progeny. You are the solution. And I don't know whether you've heard Larry, who was just on.
Oh, I came in late, so I came in about 20 after 9. So.
Okay, we just had a caller, Larry, who's been beaten repeatedly by his father, and who he felt his father was a psychopath. And out in society, his father was the ideal man. Everybody thought he was fantastic. Yet at home, he turned into this
monster.
Yeah. Okay. So this. And I'm going to be a bit not brutal with you, but I'm going to be a bit brutally honest with you.
Okay.
Right? You have no right to own your mother's behavior. Right? The right that you have is to live your life the way you want to. Right? And here's the paradox. Your mother has no right to influence you with her dysfunctional behavior.
Well, I don't let her anymore.
Exactly. But she had no right back then.
Well, I can't really say that, too, because to this day, she still hurts me with her words. And just recently, the last couple of days, I've been, throwing these things about how badly she has hurt me and how it's scarred and has produced who I am today and the way I think and the things I do.
And you know why that is? Because you're still owning her behavior. Intuitively, empathically, and compassionately, you are the solution. You are here to show her how to do it properly. Okay? Because that's what every generation is geared for. That's what's imputed into their DNA. That's what the collective generation is here as a solution to the previous generation. But because of this deconstruction that happened back then with the war, this mass trauma, and we're talking about mass and individual trauma today, right? We take on the sins of our parents and we own them and we take responsibility, and as we take responsibility for them, we perpetuate them into our lives. And we are not supposed to do that. They are supposed to take responsibility for them and stop them, and then allow us to fulfill our function and our destiny into the collective generation that we came in with. Okay?
Okay, yes. Now,
go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that all of my life I have felt different from my family, and I've always called myself the white sheep of a black sheep family. I've always done everything differently because I didn't want to be like them. There's just something inside of me. I just did not want to be like them.
Yes.
And I mean, it was really odd, too, because I just have a strong memory of being so hurt and so crushed when I was young and about 10 years old. I remember looking up into the sky and telling, look, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to come home. Please come get me. I don't know why I did that, but I did, and nobody ever came to get me.
We all did it. I did it.
Yeah, I did the exact same thing.
I did it on a daily basis. I was in orphanages for 17 years, and I did it on a daily basis. But you know what? I always used to say to these nuns who were beating the crap out of me, and to these priests who were abusing me sexually and physically, that they should not do this because they don't know who they're doing it to. Because I told them, I said, you shouldn't be doing this, and you don't know what you're doing, and I am going to be the solution. I am going to rectify this. I'm going to do my best until the day I die to rectify this.
Okay.
I think, David, it's a good time to get into some of this, because what she's saying is relative.
Yes.
You know, there's a definite reason, you know, that people like us are here. There's a reason why you're here on this call, that you tuned into the stations. You know, we say on Oculus Radio that we're here to connect with like minds. And it is these like minds that are here for a specific purpose, to undo what was done here. You know, to be the solution to a problem that has existed for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Okay?
Mhm.
Now, and I think you're in tune with that, because you on a subconscious level, you came here, you know, with purpose, for a reason, to be that solution. And the solution and the problem is an ancient problem. It's a, you know, I'm speaking because I've had direct, you know, me and my brother, we've had direct contact with this archontic influence. And when I say direct, I'm talking about, you know, close encounters of the fourth kind. You know, direct interaction with these beings.
Are they demons?
So I'm not speaking. They've been called demons, but I'll tell you also they've been called angels, because they play the side of both. You know.
So sick and twisted. Yes. It just bothers me.
And I'll tell you a story, you know, that involves my brother. And I don't know if my brother wants, if he's going to be here, if he's left already. But when he was 16 years old, and you have to understand, we also grew up feeling different. You know, I mean, from the time I was 4 years old, I knew I just didn't fit in. You know, and I in kindergarten, I had a half-hour conversation with my teacher, because she asked me where I'm from, and I told her I wasn't from Earth. That they made a mistake and they left me here.
Wow.
But that's neither here nor there. But when my brother was 16 years old, he became estranged from the church. We were growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses at the time. And he basically, you know, he made his stand, and he didn't want to be any part of it, you know. And partially it had to do with my father. My brother took, you know, for some reason, he took the biggest brunt, you know, when we were growing up. He took the larger portion of the abuse. So he left the home, ran away from home at an early age. And when he left the church, one of the things you have to understand, when you leave the church, you're ostracized. Your family's not supposed to have any contact with you. None of your friends are allowed to have any contact with you. You're basically, you know, kind of left out on your own. So we were not supposed to talk with my brother or anything like that. And my brother, you know, he was basically out on the streets at 16. But in order to keep in touch with the rest of the family, my brother started to use a Ouija board, and this is where it all starts. Now, Bevan, I don't know if you want to continue on your own, because you know more better about that part of the story.
Well, I know you're talking to your co-host, but I mean, there was two more experiences that I wanted to get out there, because I wanted to explain or try to get help from my current situation, which is hopeless.
Please do. Go right ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Miss.
All right. Well, the second thing that ever traumatized me was, I tried to go off on my own, and I lived in Hawaii for a while. It didn't work out, and I came back home. While I was gone, my mother utilized my room. Now, my mother has always been a pothead, an alcoholic, and and so on. Well, whatever. My brother got involved in a really horrible crime, and the police came looking for evidence at the house, and I really didn't feel like I had anything to hide. They said they were gonna get warrants and bust doors down and stuff like that. I said, fine, you come look in my room. And I was more like oblivious to what I had just done. And when they went upstairs, they found my mom's triple beam scale, 30 grams of marijuana, all kinds of pipes and roach clips and whatnot, and I got arrested for it. My mom wasn't home, but she had come home. And as they were handcuffing me and taking me away, and I kept saying, it's not mine. It's not mine. Please believe me, it's not mine. And then, well, whose is it? And it's like, Mom is there saying, please don't tell. Please don't tell. I'll never survive jail. I'll die. I promise I'll get you an attorney. And it's like, what, she just asked me to do for her? And I did it for her, I don't know why. My mother let me get arrested for her problem, not mine. And I let it happen. So, I mean, that really influenced me again, And my
no child put in that position, Denise. I hope you recognize that. No child.
I would never think to do something like that to my kids.
And that's the whole point. You would never think of doing something like that to your kids, because you're using their love as a weapon. Literally, you're holding them hostage, or she was holding you hostage with your natural love for her.
Okay, well, I moved on. All right, I did the best in my family than everybody. My brother is serving life in prison for murder. My sister has been a prostitute and a heroin addict. My mom's really never had a real good, decent-paying job in her life. She was married 8 times. None of them ever had gotten their high school diploma, but I did it. I did it. My mother turned me on to my first joint when I was in 7th grade because I was curious. Here, try some. I would never think to do that to my kid. Of course, I didn't like it, and I moved above that. And I purchased my own home. I worked hard, but even when I was working 2 jobs, I needed a babysitter. My mother would not watch my kid unless I paid her. But yet my heroin addict sister had a kid, and she could live with her free. She watched her kid anytime she wanted, but me, because I was able, I was demanded that I had to pay rent, and I had to pay for the babysitting and all this other stuff. Anyway, I moved to be, ahead of that, and I did purchase my own home, and I was in it for 14 years. And the property next door to me sold, and in moves the neighbor from hell. There was a disagreement between the two of us, and he has terrorized me for the last 4 years, and I can't do anything about it. To the point where after 2 years of putting up with it and feeling unsafe for my children and myself, and the kind of loan that I was in with my mortgage company for single parents, I decided I was going to let my home foreclose and move away. I conceded. I went to so many different authorities, my local government, the police, anywhere I could turn and ask for help to protect me and do something to this man. But because I lacked the evidence to nail him, because he was doing everything at night when everyone is asleep, I couldn't do it. Can't touch him. So I haven't really slept that well at night for the last 4 years, and I guess I was delusional thinking that I could go out and find a place to live for what I was paying for my mortgage. I'm currently disabled and have been since 1997, just 3 years after purchasing my home. And no matter what door I've ever knocked on, the door has been shut and said, I'm sorry, I can't help you. I've had to remain so strong. I've had to overcome so much, and it's like I barely ever have time to catch my breath before the next one comes at me. You know, I so resent living, I really do. But I'm strong because I made a decision out of selfishness because I needed somebody to love, and I had children. I had them all out of wedlock. Now I feel guilty about doing so, and I feel strongly committed to them, so no matter how much I want to die, I won't do it. And
do you feel guilty because you are afraid of them suffering the same thing?
Yes.
Do you feel guilty for bringing them into this
yes.
terrible, cruel world?
Yes, I do, very much so. And if I would have known back then that I'd be sitting here today regretting it, I would have never done it. But it's too late, you know. I can't go back. I can't change it. All I can do is try to be strong and, you know, protect them the best that I can. I'm not doing such a good job because the world is really beating me down. I'm at the point now, after contacting so many agencies, like my home is up for Marshall sale next Thursday. You know, if it sells, it'll be 30 days before the person gets the deed and can put us out on the street. There is no place where I live in my whole state of Pennsylvania that I can find to even measure up to what I worked so hard to get and that I can afford.
Where in Pennsylvania are you, Denise?
I'm near the Poconos, Lehigh Valley and the Poconos. I'm sandwiched right in between.
Okay, you're not far from me. Okay.
Isn't that amazing?
You're very close, and one of the things I specialize in is helping with foreclosures and things like that. What you need right now, Denise, is breathing room, and you need some relief because.
See, I don't want to be here.
Right
so
now,
if you're going where, you know, saving the house, it's like I don't want to save the house. I want out of here because I am not growing. I'm becoming weaker. You know what I mean? I got to get out of here so that I could live.
Okay.
I got to get out of here.
I still think that you guys need to connect. I really do.
Yeah.
But that's something that you have to make a decision with, Denise. And I'm going to go into my little rant as we speak from what I've heard, what you've just said. The doors that you've knocked on externally are the doors, obviously, that are going to push you away because rejection seems to have been a very high
theme of my life.
Theme of your life,
yes,
right?
Yes.
You did not acquire that of your own volition. Do you understand that? This concept was given to you by your mother, and you have run with it. All right? Now this might be to you a whole lot of hoo-ha, but I'm going to go with it anyway. You have to take responsibility for the doors that you haven't knocked on within your subconscious. The doors that you have kept shut because you have taken ownership of the responsibility that your mother put on you because she could not deal with that responsibility. And these are the behavioral patterns, the barbaric behavioral dysfunctional patterns that she has given you, and you have owned them. They were not meant for you. They will never be meant for you. But in every moment of every day that you still insist on owning them, they will take effect of your life. And I'm talking about, and I'm also going to include this man who's moved next door. He has moved next door because he senses within your subconscious this extreme victimized state. And he needs someone to move next door to victimize because he is a predator. Okay? And he can, and this is the energy that Bob was talking about that we do not pick up on, that we are not made aware of, that society does not give us the information about these energies, that we live our lives with on a day-to-day basis, but are the energies that are taken, that are the 25% that is not included in the institutionalized teaching of psychology. These are the 25% of information that only experience can give you. And what I'm going to say to you is three things, because everything comes in three. You came here as a solution. You've shown that because you have not taken on the destruction of your mother. Right?
Well, that's not 100% true. That's not 100% true.
No. You have extenuated. You have extended the life of the personality that your mother gave you, and you've run with it. Right? And in doing so, it is a victim. It is the ultimate victim. Right? But this is not who you are. And I'm going to go into the second point. The second point is that because you are the solution, you have come into this world with the solution. And you are showing the solution under extreme oppression, right? But let me tell you, 99% of that oppression exists within your psyche because of the fact that you take a responsibility and ownership of your mother's dysfunctional behavioral patterns. And this is what we do as children. We manifest them, we elongate them, and sometimes we are crucified by them. Right? You have come in as a solution, and I am telling you, you have to learn to receive. And I suspect that you're a person who does everything for everybody and doesn't accept any help.
Exactly.
Right?
100% true.
Exactly.
100% true.
Exactly. Well, my darling, you have to learn to receive. You have to sit back in that little bit of breathing room that you create for yourself. Not anybody creates for you. And you have to learn to receive. Because you know what? All of us here were the white sheep of the family. All of us here. And now this is the time of the white sheep, right? And we had a man on last week, on Wednesday, whose name was John Lamb Lash. And he is saying, and he is a comparative mythologist, and he's saying in this mythos, in this story of human evolution at the moment, right, all the animals are coming to the humans. But I'm telling you this as a metaphor, all the white animals are coming to the humans to tell the humans that there's something amazing going on here. Right? I'm not talking about the normal colored animals. I'm not talking about albinos. I'm talking about white animals. This is a very prevalent phenomenon that's happening within society at the moment. Okay? And what does that tell you? That tells you that this is the time of the white sheep. This is the time of the Puritan, the person who has suffered, but not necessarily suffered under their own volition. It's suffered under hereditary violence, hereditary trauma, hereditary abuse, and we've owned it because we were the solution and we were here to break it. And break it we did. And you've shown within your family and your family structure that you have broken a lot of the dysfunctional patterns that happened within your family. You are not to, from this day forward, take responsibility for any more of your family's stuff. Right? What you do is you take responsibility for your stuff. This is the world that you need to create. What you're doing is you're bringing the external world into you and letting it change your internal world. You're here to bring out your external, what we call the multiverse within inside of us, right? And we are here to create our world. Right? This is not an option. This is not. You have a reference point now to what dysfunctionalism is, right? You have 30 to 40 years of experience, as we all have in this forum, on this panel, right? Of dysfunctional, traumatic, barbaric experiences, but we know this is our time. You have an abundance.
Can I stop you for a moment? This is our time.
Yes.
There's just so much against me right now that I feel like that, there is this force that is just trying to extinguish me. And I worry every day that it's going to be allowed to happen, and then what is going to become of my family. There is a force
trying to extinguish that dysfunctionalism that you have owned and taken responsibility from your parents. That's what it's trying to distinguish, because that's what it preys on. That's what it victimizes. That's what it creates. And the more you own it, the more it's going to come at you, big time. Now, you've got to just... Go on, sorry, bro.
I want to use an illustration for you, okay? Because I don't think that you're understanding what's happening with you is that everything that you're experiencing, it is a reflection of something that's going on inside you. It's a reflection of how you're feeling. You understand? When you worry and you're in fear and you feel as though that you are oppressed, this is the feeling that you're giving off. And the world is only going to reflect that back at you.
Right. And
now,
that's why so much is coming at me, right?
Exactly.
So then how do I overcome it? How do I change it?
Well, that's what I'm getting into. And this is the problem that a lot of people get into. Because they see the reflection in the mirror, and if you're having a bad day and you look in the mirror and you see that your hair is not right, and you want to fix it and you want to change it, do you take out a comb and comb the mirror?
No.
Because if you're trying to comb the mirror, the reflection is never going to change. You've got to comb the source of the reflection. You've got to comb your hair. And then the reflection will change.
When I look in the mirror every day, when I look in the mirror every day, I look at me and it's like, oh my God, look what life has done to you. I used to be so beautiful, and look at me now. And you know what? I don't even bother to take the time to comb that piece of hair. I just walk away.
See, the reflection doesn't do to you. You're the source of the reflection.
Exactly.
You understand? And this is what David's talking about. You've got to take responsibility. Because now, when you're feeling oppressed, right, the universe is going to give you oppressive situations to match that feeling. And they're going, and you're going to go through this pattern, this cycle, and it's going to happen over and over and over again. And once you change your feeling, and I'm not the victim here, and I'm not going to react in fear anymore. I'm not going to allow this to stress me out. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to allow you to have that much control in my life. You don't matter.
Well, I need help, and I need it fast. I need help, and I need it fast, because whoever I talk to over the last couple of days, or perhaps it's somebody that knows me and what I'm going through, because there's a piece of information that came to light today that could only be known by somebody who is directly involved with my life, that, I'm facing homelessness with my children, and I'm trying to prevent that very thing, and I'm reaching out. I have no problem telling everybody the truths in my life and who I am and what I've been through and what I'm trying to overcome. But my worst fear, it may be coming to light, and that is somebody contacted Children and Youth Services. For what reason, I don't know. And a man from that service went to my son's school today without my permission, pulled him out of class, and spoke with him. So yeah, I don't need this fight on top of everything else that I'm going through, and I don't know how.
But how do you know, Denise, this is going to be a bad thing?
Because it is. Because I do the reading. I hear all the horror stories about children and youth and how they're so just evil. They're not there to help. They're there to destroy. I'm not the bad person here. You don't need to step in and take my kids. I'm doing a damn well good job. But the things around me don't look like it is, so they're going to just take my kids away from me?
Okay, Denise, listen. Is this the world that you would create yourself personally?
Is this the world that I would create? No, I often sit and daydream about the world that I would create.
Okay, well, why don't you put your daydreams into practice?
I don't have any money.
You don't need money.
No, but I know, within the last 2 days, with all the trouble that I'm going through, it's like, okay, something needs to be done, because not only is it me that is suffering, but there are a lot out there. Come on, they're going to tell me there's no place for me to live because there's already 70 families on a waiting list waiting for a place to have a roof over their head. And it's
exactly, because that's what the system does.
Yeah.
The system gives you the concept of scarcity, which connects to your fear, right? And the fear grows within you, and it keeps your fear in the subconscious.
But I am really angry. I'm just really angry, and of course I have nowhere to go with it. I want to be able to be strong enough to stand up and start fighting like hell, But yet,
is it a time to fight, or is it a time to actually come into a knowing of how you would create the world and let it create itself in front of you? Have you given that a chance, or
no,
have you been?
It just seems insurmountable. How can me, little old me, change the world? There's just too much evil and
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I buy that's the little victim child that's talking. I don't buy that's Denise, the woman who's overcome adversity with the family and gotten through it and stopped those oppressive energies from coming through into her children and to ward off all of that stuff that and the dysfunctionalism that happened within your family, not your siblings and your mother, not your current family. I feel that you're living too much in the child love. Your child is too in the conscious mind. You have to say, Denise, as the adult, to your Denise as the little broken, dysfunctional, hurt, fearful child, that you're going to get it together and you're going to pull through this because that's who you are and that's what you do. You've got to stop. You've got to differentiate when you are in that child mode and when you are in that adult mode, right? And as soon as you go into fear, we all go into that child mode because that's where it came from.
I'm exhausted, and all I really want is just for the world to leave me alone, please, please, so that I have the time to get stronger.
Well, I guarantee you from today onwards it's going to. And I believe that sorry, Bob, I'm just going to finish this, that everything that's going to come into your life from now on is going to be amazing. And I believe and know that you have some amazing gifts waiting out there from the universe until the day you say, I accept. I accept. I, Denise, the adult, accept. Not the child, because the child had its time. The child needs to be put to rest and feel secure. And this is what you need to do as an adult. Integrate the good aspects, the positive aspects of Denise the child into Denise the adults. Do not stop becoming playful. Do not stop becoming the woman that you are. You are letting a society that is a predatorial society totally victimize you, and you have fallen in love with that.
Fallen in love with that?
Yes, because that's what happens.
God, it's unimaginable.
Well, that's what happens. The victim always falls in love with the predator. It's a subconscious thing, but that's what happens.
Okay.
Go on, Bob.
Denise?
Yes.
One of the things that I can hear it in your voice is you need some immediate relief. And before what I'm going to ask for you, if you can give me your email address. I'm going to give you my personal phone number. I'm also in Pennsylvania. I'm just a little south of Wilkes-Barre. So
really?
Not that far.
I just turned down a place in Hazleton because I was under the impression, and I had everybody in a panic, that people at the sheriff's sale next week were going to actually access my home, and the shit was going to hit the fan, to get this thing done. And it's like, well, I got that cleared away, and now we can breathe again. We got a month, but I let a home slip away that I had convinced a man not to do a credit check on me, to accept everything about me, my pet, on his brand new carpetings, to a swimming pool in the backyard, in a garden. He was like ready and willing to give me what I wanted, and I called him up and said, I can't come.
Denise, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. All right, I have some connections, and I'm willing to help. But one of the things I want you to understand is, as long as you're focusing on the worst things, because you're fighting, and you understand you can't solve a problem with the same energy that created it.
Exactly.
You understand? You can't solve the problem that way, because this energy is born on fighting. It's born on fear. It's born on worry and stress and all of those things. That's food for it. Do you understand? And when you fight it, you understand, you get angry at it and you fight it.
You feed it.
You're feeding it. You make it stronger. The thing that you need to do is to walk away from it. Literally, this is not part of my life, and I don't need to engage you. And when you,
I sort of think that's what I was doing by walking away from this next door neighbor.
No, it's got to be within your mind, love.
Yes.
This is a conscious. Sorry, Bob. Come.
As long as you feel as though that you're being oppressed, you're always going to react with the need to fight. But once you feel that you're no longer oppressed, and this is where you've got to flip the switch.
Oh, excuse me.
You've got to put what's happening to you, right? You can't put that in front of what you're feeling. You've got to put what you're feeling in front of what's happening to you.
Denise?
Because as long as you're...
Sorry, Bob. I just wanted to point... my name's Octavia. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. I just wanted to point out something beautiful that I saw within you just then. And that is that when you manifested all those things and you convinced all those people, that's your reference points of your power. That's your wisdom coming through. So you are quite capable of creating the magic and the beauty that's going to come to you now. But use that. Use that as a reference point that you can do this. But go on, Bob, sorry.
Thank you. No, very, very, that's an excellent point. Because you can do it again. You understand, you have the ability to really change your reality. And you do that with, first, primarily, with what you're thinking and what you're feeling about your situation. When you feel powerless against a situation that you feel, hey, I have no power to change this situation. I can't change it. You always have power about how you feel and think about the situation. And when you change how you feel and think about the situation changes.
Can I just say, sorry, Bob. It's you're owning the situation. You're not observing the situation. And when you become the observer, Denise, of what's happening, you will be able to find the solution. But because you own it, right? And this is exactly what I'm saying about your mother. She owned the stuff that was given to her, and then she perpetrated it onto you. So there's this continuum of owning and nothing to do with observation. You need to observe. This is why you need to sit back, walk out, walk back, and observe what's going on. Then the Denise that is the warrior Denise, that it is the insightful one, will come out.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to change it. I've been living 49 years like this, okay, with this wrong thinking and whatever, and this taking on the victimization. I don't even know. I can't even fathom how to begin to even change that. I need tools. I have my hand out. I need someone to grab it. I need somebody to pull me up, give me those tools. You know, just I have no friends. I have definitely no family to rely upon. My whole life I've just been doing it all by myself, and I am just so tired. I want to change it. I just don't know how.
No, don't stop saying I want to. Just say it's going to change. Be the observer. Look at it for what it is. That it is look at it as the irresistible force meets the immovable object. This is the immovable object that has been put in front of you, and you are owning it. You have no right to own it because it is not yours. It is the problem.
Well, I can't grasp that
yet.
Can
I have your email
address? Grasp that. Excuse me?
Denise, can I have your email address?
Oh, D like David.
Do you want to...
Oh, I can private message.
Send it to me on Facebook.
Okay, well, I took my pencil out into the car today and forgot to bring it back in, so I don't have anything to write with right now.
I'm going to give you my...
Sorry.
I'm going to write it in the chat room.
Or you can just, private message me if you want.
No, I'll put it right in the chat room. And you send me an email, and I will give you a call tomorrow for sure.
Okay.
You've got that email address. Can you see it?
Yes, Nubius12.
Yep.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, I guarantee you, because of your connection with us, and I'm not. This is not coming out of ego. This is from you connecting with your tribe.
My
connecting
tribe.
with your
Yay!
tribe.
Finally, I'm not alone anymore.
Exactly. You're not alone.
No,
you're not. But you've never had been. You've never have been.
No,
you just have to want it. You just have to want it bad enough.
I felt it. I felt all alone, and that's why I decided to have children out of wedlock. None of the relationships I've ever been in worked out, and I've always chosen the wrong kind of people, and it just got to the point too in 2010. I'm done. I'm not even going to try again. I'm done because there's more important things. Instead of letting people tear me down, I need to build me up.
Exactly. We'll help you do that.
How many members in your family? What size home do you need?
There's 5 of us, and we outgrew it long ago. I've been sleeping on the couch for years. My 2 youngest are a boy and a girl, 7 and 5, so they really shouldn't be sharing a room anymore. And I have an older son who's 24. He's learning disabled, so he can't get a good job, so he works part-time. He can't go out on his own. And then I have a 17-year-old who's gifted and an honor roll student. So, I opened my mouth to my children and said, I will provide you with a better place to live, and everybody will have their own bedroom. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
You are going to do it.
Oh my God, I can't. I don't want to keep saying that word.
It doesn't matter. It's going to come.
Don't worry.
Don't fall back in.
I'm going to help you.
Don't fall back into that old thought pattern. Don't go into that well of stuff. This is not yours. Let it go. Don't own it.
Yeah,
It's
I almost
something
had
that
it. I almost had it, though. I found a 5-bedroom home in Albrightsville for $750 a month, and it was like, this is perfect.
Well, the second one is going to be bigger and cheaper, I guarantee you. And you're going to come on to this show in the near future, and you're going to tell us about how fantastic your life is. And I guarantee you, after today, it's going to dramatically change, because you are going to learn to receive, Denise. And what is waiting there for you is if not miraculous. But it's you, and you have to take responsibility for what's coming to you, and you have to own it, because it is there for you. You just have to receive it.
And just by you coming on the show now, you've activated that receiving mode. So you're receiving your tribe, you're receiving the love from the group. And collectively, that will have a very big impact on not only you, but other people.
Exactly.
Okay.
So get used to it, sister. This is what's going on. And we've got to buy into this and be this energy that's here, and get into your group, get into your clan, get into your group, get into your tribe, right? And find your position, right?
That sounds so heavenly.
Yes,
it
exactly.
Does.
Because at this point in time of Earth's history, we know that heaven's coming to Earth because the human collective imagination is going to make it. We are going to bring heaven onto Earth, because it's about the white sheep. I don't know whether you've heard about the indigenous white buffalo.
No.
You've heard the prophecy about that? When the white buffalo...
No. But why do you keep using white sheep? Because I did, or did you always use that term?
Well, because what you consider to be black, right? When did you start using the terminology white sheep? Forever?
Yes, since I was a child. Since I recognized what I was surrounded by.
Okay, so you were more evolved than you think, because every one of us called ourselves the black sheep. But now we know that we are the white sheep, and yes, you just coined the terminology white sheep, and yes, we are the white sheep. We are not the black sheep that everybody thought. We are not the crazy ones. We are the ones who perpetuated a lifetime of understanding and a lifetime of knowledge, and kept on with it and said, yes, we are going to continue on what we feel we need to do, and suffer the pain and the agony of the rest of the world, because that's what we've done.
Well, I've always even said I argue with my mother because she pushes religion on me all the time. How I have to turn to God and what He has done for my sins, and all I have to do is believe in Him and how He's going to lift me up. And it's like, well, Mom, even He only lived 33 years, okay?
Exactly.
And he suffered, but only a few hours on the cross. I would trade my life for that any day.
Has it helped her? Has He helped her?
No, she
because she hasn't helped herself.
There's something wrong with me. Oh, has it helped her? Yes. She's just 100%, into this religion, and I believe. I mean, she's overcome cancer, okay, and she owes it all to God.
Okay, well, she's found her tribe. Now it's time you find yours. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And Denise, just before you go, I'd also like to invite you to a new group that's coming called the Collective Imagination. And I feel that it is based on not only with great intent to universal events, but to personal events and community events. So I will send you some information on that as well.
Well, why don't I put my email address in the room? I mean, certainly anything that anybody sends me that doesn't look kosher, I'm just going to delete it. Yeah. Okay? I'm not afraid to put it out there. Is that all right? Hello? Do we run out of time?
Yeah, that's fine, Denise.
Yeah, that's fine, Denise. Sorry.
We're about to go take a break.
Yep. Anyway, Denise, it was absolutely amazingly fantastic to speak to you. And what's ahead of you now is going to be nothing more miraculous, but the fact is it's you creating your life. All right?
All right.
All right, and keep us posted.
Well, I will. Are you guys on daily or weekly or?
We're on tri-weekly. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 till 11 EST.
Oh, 8 to 11. Wow.
Yep.
Very good.
So come on anytime. Join us. Look, if you want to actually participate on a call with your experience, because I know you've had a lot of experience, because that's what all this group is. It's a group of people who have had a massive amount of experience and are willing to help others with it. And we've all gotten past it. We've all gotten through it.
Well, you know, the way I look at it right now, all I have is a bunch of stories about all the pain that I've been through. Yeah. I haven't yet identified or even been able to accept the fact that I'm still here and I've gotten through it.
Exactly. So now you're going to find out who the real Denise is and how amazing you are. And I'm not. I look forward to it. Let me tell you, I am not big noting you. It's not coming out of ego. I feel your energy. I know who you are, and I know who you are by what you've experienced. Right?
And, well, then why isn't it everybody is always accusing me of having dark energy? I don't believe that. It's like, you've got that all wrong. You know, why are you saying that? It's wrong.
But is this energy the energy your mother couldn't deal with and gave it to you? Is this what they're looking at? Is this what they're picking up on?
You know, I go into psychic rooms and everything, and then, of course, I start talking, and then everybody says, oh, my God, when she opens her mouth, do you hear the negativity? Do you hear the negative energy? And then people have said stuff like, oh, you know how I had to go and cleanse and ground myself after listening to that woman talk?
Yeah, but that's their stuff, because you're triggering them.
And you're the mirror.
So don't own them, their thoughts.
Okay? This is about your life, not anybody else's.
Kick me out of rooms. Kick me out of rooms. It's like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm really happy. You're not going to kick me out, right? You've invited me in, and I'm so happy.
You're in. You're in to stay. You're in to stay.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bring in the women. We love the women. Love that you're here, Denise.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day.
Okay, I will, and I'll definitely make a copy of this chat so that I can, make sure I have everything in writing. I don't want it to disappear, so I'm going to do that now.
Well, there's an archived version of this show that's on Oculus Blogspot that you can actually download, so keep it. This will be a memento.
Isn't that just verbal? I mean...
It's an archive MP3 that you can download onto your computer and listen to at any time that you want.
Okay.
And tell you and show your friends, introduce your friends to your new family.
Yeah, but then the written part of it, you can't access that in the archives. You can only access this while you're in it.
No,
right? I've tried. I can't find it anywhere.
We don't do transcripts. We will if they're requested. But transcripting a 3-hour show is a monumental job. So it's just, I think, the voice. It's the energy of the voice.
Okay.
But we will need a transcript person in the future. So otherwise, Blog Talk charges $450 a transcript.
The transcript? But
yeah,
that doesn't
for
make
every
sense
show
because all you have to do at the end of the show is go up here to this little button and say open message history. You see it, and you save it, and it's there. And they want to charge $450 for that?
No, that's the transcript of everything that we're saying right now. Of the actual show itself, not of the chat room.
Yeah, and then separately you can get the verbal part in the archives. You can copy it.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes. It just doesn't make sense why they would charge $450 for that.
Oh, it's all revenue.
Okay, lots of love, Denise.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
All right. Bye.
See you. Bye. Stay sacred.
I will.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Stay sacred.
I will.
Bye now.
Okay. Well, Oculus Radio, we're going to take a break. We've got 21 minutes left. We're going to take a nice break, and I'm going to play Oki's favorite song. So thank you very much, Denise. and we'll talk about Denise's call after the break. This is Oculus Radio here at Blog Talk Radio. Thank you. Well, there you go. That's a special song for Denise here at Oculus Radio. Bob, what a fantastic show.
Awesome. Very good.
It's been amazing. I don't even get tell my story, so I can't embellish today. But we will save it for another day. And
we still have 15 minutes.
Oh, mate, you need 15 years for that one. So, but you know, as I put in the chat room, you know, the Dalai Lama said it will be white Western women who will save the planet, and I concur with what he said. I feel that, you know, on a collective scale, they've been shut down by this patriarchal system, and when they wake up, like we know, Sophia, or the energy of the planet is waking up. The feminine energy. There would be a massive surge of feminine energy and feminine warrior energy, and this energy will rise out of the ground into women, not from an external point. And
it's certainly rising. Believe you me. With great intensity, and I feel that the other women in the chat room are actually experiencing that as well. So it'd be good to talk more of that possibly next show.
Well, we will do that because there's some important energies that women are picking up on, and they need to actually know where they're coming from and why they're coming from, and to utilize them and to integrate them into their own individual psyche, into their own individual imagination, and to add it to the collective imagination. I mean, this is the only way we're going to imagine a better world for us all. And in that imagining, that's a technology within itself. And as Lash said,
not just the women, David. The men are getting it too.
The men, exactly. Well,
it's the combination of the two.
Well, that's it. We've both had our shot. Now we're going to do it together, but how it should be done. So, I'm a bit all worked up all about that.
Well, it shows you the power in revealing yourself as well. Yeah, the power in revealing yourself, and just being open and honest to actually allow other people to hear your story. Because, I mean, since being on this group and knowing these people that are my tribe, things have changed, and dramatically fast. More faster than I ever imagined. And I see that even with Denise. I felt her energy change, and this is what happens within the group. So the more the merrier. So, you know, call in people. It's a great time to experience the shift faster. And you're not alone. We're all here to help, and everybody out there is here to help each other.
Like they said, we are the answer to each other's prayers.
We are the ones we've been waiting for.
Exactly.
It almost sounds cliche, but so true.
Yeah, I know, but I love a good cliche, Bob. It's nice.
Yes, I know you do.
Okay, let's continue on with this and talk about the mechanisms of how we store these behavioral patterns that are given to us by people around us at very early ages, and as we were going to go into Octavia's experience, I think we'll save that to and do one whole show on that, because it's interesting that people understand that in order to destroy something, one has to actually become it. And it's this binding that we have all had over the last 30 or 40 years of this fear culture, and we've internalized it on a cellular level that we can only do something about it. Now we know what's against us, and it is us owning something that is not ours, and it is detracting away from, as I said before to Denise, it is detracting away from our personal destiny, and in our personal destiny we will find the energy to plug into the collective destiny, and that is the only way that we can light that up. There is no other way. But if you keep on looking, and as I keep on saying this to people, if you look to fear, that's all you'll see. But look the other way. There has to be, because of balance, there has to be the amount that's prevalent to fear of the amount of goodness and light on the planet. But the fear culture keeps us indoctrinated and embellished in their subservience, in their sparkly subservience, and it needs not be. We need not look at that. We know what it does. We know what it we know what it did to our parents. We're a generation of people who saw how broken our parents were. We're a generation that experienced, massive dysfunctionalism, and I'm talking about not on an individual scale, on a collective scale. And that tells me personally, on an extremely intimate level, that because our generation was set upon so vehemently and so fiercely by this fear culture, that we were a very important generation. And regardless of whether it took us 30 or 40 years to see that, right? We took the time out to embed that pain, embed that fear, embed that trauma into our psyches and look at it for what it really is. We don't have to perpetuate it because it is not ours. It came from somewhere very dark, right? And we are not dark. We are very light. We are the human divine genome was if we want to get into the semantics of it, was incubated in the divine. And we have knowledge of this. We have an understanding that we are a divine creature. We don't necessarily all look within to define our divinity. And I'm not talking anything about religious or religions. I'm talking about our individual responsibility towards our own personal destiny. That once we connect with that, it will connect with the collective destiny. And we owe it to ourselves because of that huge amount of time in our own personal lives, but a very minuscule amount of time within the Earth's history, just a pinpoint. But within us, it was intense, massive, overwhelming, and to some, like Denise, it is still overwhelming, but it need not be, because that is not our responsibility. Our responsibility is to the solution, because we came in as the solution, and that's why this predatorial society, this whole predatorial society which is now was created, was to destroy us, our generation. And then we, as a generation of destroyed humans, perpetuated onto the generations that follow us. But they don't know who they're messing with.
And you know what? Being part of the solution, I think it's important for people to know that you can't formulate the question without the solution already being there. The universe just works that way. And if you're focusing on the problem and you're not focusing on the solution, you're only going to get more problems. You have to literally understand that the solution is you. It's always you. You are always the solution to every problem that you face, because ultimately we are the creator of our own experience. And this is one of the things that I believe is starting to come back into our awareness, that we understand that we have more control than we've given ourselves credit for. And it is these psychopathic, people that try to rob us of that power, of that control, and convince you that you are powerless, and convince you that everything is beyond you, when it's not.
Well, listen, but why do you think within this society that the products that are created, the industry that is created, the level of institutionalization that's created, the prison system that has been created, is all about imperfection? Because they have to replenish this myth, on an external basis, for us, for our generation, on a day-to-day basis.
Well,
we have to.
They started young.
Exactly.
They started young, David. We're telling you that you're born in sin. You're messed up. You're only human. There's something wrong with you. You need to be saved. You need a redeemer. There's this whole idea that we're broken. And there's something wrong with us. And people buy into it. They believe that lie. And they manifest it in their lives. And all of us have been, victims of this perpetration in some form or another, because that's the society that we live in.
Yes. Anyway, we have 5 minutes to go on Oculus Radio. Our next show. Thank you, Octavia. Octavia's reminded me to talk about the next show. We at Oculus Radio are under the suspicion that a new sexual revolution is just about to emerge, if not is emerging. We are under we are of the knowledge that this new sexual energy which is coming out of the planet, this, let's just say, animal magnetism. I have a link on my Facebook page. I should give people my Facebook page so people can join. I've got 5,000 friends, but I'll delete some. Well, I can't really say that.
Just join Oculus. Just join.
Yeah. Just try. You'll see other things. This is give it up. That's my Facebook page. Look, I have a link, and I'll put it in here, about a guy called Franz Anton Mesmer. Have you ever heard of him, Bob?
No, I've never. I don't think so.
Okay. We got this listening to one of Lash's navigational briefings last night, and I want to make people aware of this man. This is the link here. I'll put it in the chat room. Anton, I'll just read it quickly. Franz Anton Mesmer was born in 1737 at Lake Boden, Germany. He went to Vienna to study theology, blah, 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 blah. He founded a school in Vienna where he practiced healing through animal magnetism, harnessing the magnetic fluid through pieces of iron and conductive minerals that he placed upon the diseased spots on the patient's body. He found that one could achieve magnetic effects through the laying of hands or merely by speaking with the patient, and thus the modern hypnosis was born. Of course, the term hypnotism itself wasn't coined by Mesmer, but by the English scientist James Braid, 1795 to 1860. In 1843, the name derived from the Greek god Hypnos, god of sleep. Braid coined the term to prevent association with animal magnetism, which he claimed was pure nonsense. And I don't believe that. And I'm not going to believe it, because I believe the injection of institutionalized male perception in this society has been nothing but predatorial and been nothing but destructive. And we have given this energy far more freedom than it deserves, and it needs to be retracted from the human collective imagination. It needs to be reprogrammed into an understanding that you have to feel and understand that if a man comes out and talks the talk, he has to be walking the walk as well. You cannot rely on people who are institutionalized in their way of thinking unless you feel them. This is empathy and compassion. These are the new technologies that are waking up within the human collective imagination en masse. This is why a lot of these things are happening on the planet. These amazing things. So next week is about the new sexual revolution on Oculus Radio. Hope you join us. If you're feeling some sort of injection of eros, or friends of yours are becoming sort of a bit crazy, get them to call in and join us on this show. This will actually be quite an interesting show, and we will get some information into where it's going. Bob actually believes that it's going to affect the men more than it's going to affect the women, and I'm a little bit. I feel that I feel that. Well, we've got 10 seconds to go. Anyway, we're going to go. We'll see you next week here on Oculus Radio. Thank you very much, everybody in the chat room. Love you all. I won't say about it. Thank you, Denise. Thank you,
Linda, Laurie, Gregory.
Everyone, and we're off.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
I think we're gone. Are we gone?